Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Ironsworn Starforged, Crystalline Shadows, where last we left off, Ash and I think I've been saying their name wrong, actually. Ash and where's the NPC stuff? Down here. Voldar. I think it was calling him Van. You know what? I called them Vander the whole last session, so I'm just gonna change their name to that. So they're now Vanderbond. That's what I've been saying. So that's what we're gonna turn it into. Ash and Vander had discovered a derelict and were exploring it on a small rocky planet named Dusk. The ship Mutara or Mutara, however you want to pronounce that, had crash landed way back at the initial point after a possible encounter with the ship that would become Purgatory. There was some old technology from the previous inhabitants of the Forge that Vanderbond was using for medical purposes, for medicinal purposes, that were powered by the heart crystals that we're now using just as like basically power sources or batteries. So they came to show us where they had found this from and to maybe discover more about it, and we found out that they do have information on the computers in the medical bay we found. However, when Ash and Vander tried to repair the reactor to power the ship up and get that information off the computer, it went really wrong, and things went pretty bad. So what's the word I'm looking for? The reactor has gone critical, is probably the best word to say, and it's getting ready to explode. So we are going to have to do a scene challenge to see hopefully them escape and get the information, at least get the computer to hook up to and turn on and stuff once we get back to the Stellar Hawk. So let me just pull up the rules here. So to begin a scene, we start a scene, got that, marked it. I think it's troublesome, I think makes sense. I don't remember if I discussed it. So I think troublesome makes sense. It's a pretty straight shot back, so we just have to get back, grab the computer, and then get out. And we know the route, we've explored the ship. I don't think it's gonna be super hard. They just have to move fast. So let's get our moves ready. Which the two moves you have during a scene challenge are Face Danger and Secure an Advantage, which are adventure moves. Face Danger, Secure an Advantage. You also activate a 4-segment clock. Tara explodes. I think the first thing to do is to run. They're going to face danger using speed, mobility, or agility. I think the pair of them are just going to take a second to look at each other and just take off back down the hallway. Just start tearing through the place. So that is plus our edge, which is 1. It's not great. We don't have anything that'll help us with this. I don't know if there is anything that would help us with that. I don't know if they have like a sprinter asset or something. But something to look into. Being able to chase somebody down would probably help as a bounty hunter. Although, now where the story's gone, it's kind of deviated from the initial idea I had, which is fine. That's how this game goes. But so let's see how it deviates now when we roll face danger plus edge. Ooh. First roll of the day is a miss. Can we do? We can't even do anything with our moment. Is there a special version for scene challenges? Oh yes, here we go. They're a slightly different thing. On a miss, you fail, or a momentary success is undermined by a dramatic turn of events. Fill the clock segment and pay the price. So we are going to fill a clock segment and pay the price. Okay. So looking at this chart, there isn't a whole lot that would make sense. However, a new enemy is revealed gives me an idea. So what if more of those Ember Wisps show up? They come out into the hallway that they took, and there are now a couple more Ember Wisps floating out of previously unexplored doorways that the pair just kind of walked past. So we're I'm gonna add another progress clock and a wisp congregation, which is sort of like I'm gonna assume a group of them is supposed to be dangerous. So we'll do that. I don't know if we're gonna combat these guys. I think the goal is probably going to be to get away from them. So they Ash and Scout bond peel out of there, and they both come into the corridor and skid to a stop as the mostly dark corridor that was previously illuminated by flashlights and emergency lighting now has these almost will-o-wisp like clouds of glittering lights, and you know, one was enough trouble. Now they've got, I don't know, we'll say there's like a couple of them. There's 3 or 4 of them maybe. And you know, Scout Bond hasn't shown any combat abilities really. They at the very least don't have any weapons. So this is going to be a problem. I think what we're going to do, I think we're going to face danger with strength or aggression. I think Ash is going to go first and take out his sword and try to clear a path for Scout Bond to run ahead so they can continue their progress. So face danger against the Wisp congregation and this rolling plus iron, which is a little better than edge and is a little better than edge. Okay, so when you on a weak hit, you mark progress but also counter complication or setback. Envision what occurs and fill a clock segment. So first we fill the clock segment and then we mark progress on both of these because you know we do some damage with Ash's sword. We determined that does affect the wisps, so he does get a couple of good hits in, probably forces them to part just long enough for Vanderbond to get through that gap, and then takes up the rear behind them, holding them off. I think when you face danger normally, or when you attack somebody normally, endure harm. Let's see here, 1 for minor, 2 for serious, 3 for major. Okay, so I think 1 is good. We're in Ash is really rough right now. But I think that's appropriate for trying to fight 4-on-1. And what are they gonna do next? Okay, so I think what we're gonna do is gonna be another iron roll. I think we're going to secure an advantage here. They're running back down the corridor, this main hallway that they'd found before. What they're gonna do is they're gonna get back to that like overturned cart, the little like the flatbed thing that was blocking before that they had to move out of the way, and they're gonna try and push it back. Now I think that would be strength, so it's secure an advantage with iron. And now these things can fly and they can float, but they're not very smart. So hopefully something that blocks most of the hallway will slow them down at least enough to give us some time. So securing an advantage. And we're also at 2, so I'm guessing there's like, you know, real emergency. It's like a klaxon, you know, the you know, warning lights and stuff like that, along with the already probably not so great emergency lights. So this is not the best situation to be working in. But let's see, secure an advantage plus iron. Can they get it? Yes, on a strong hit, you take both. Sweet. No match, unfortunately, so we don't get free progress, but we get to take +2 momentum, which will help us, hopefully. And +1 on the next move, which I think is going to be another edge, as they're going to try and now put some distance between them and the wisps and stuff. So do edge. I'm going to change that. So edge +1. Hopefully. Plus, let's see here, edge +1 to get to the medical bay. A weak hit mark progress. We fill a segment clock. We mark progress. I'm also just, whenever we mark progress on this, I'm going to mark progress on them. Okay, so the warning lights are going off. It's you know, there's probably some emergency announcement of like, actually no, I'm gonna say because there's no power, they don't even get the usual like self-destruct will occur in blah 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 seconds. No, they have no idea how close it is to exploding. They are very much on the edge of running out of time, so they are going to try and just grab the computer. And I imagine, you know, they're not as bulky as I mean, even then, a tower isn't that much to carry for someone. Hopefully. We'll see, I guess. So, but I think I'm gonna count this as expertise to quickly like disconnect all the stuff, grab it, and head out towards where they were originally, which isn't far from, like, this is the first place they found, so it isn't too far from where they came in. And hopefully because we're rolling plus wits, which is Ash's best score, we will be able to do good. So face danger plus wits to try and get the computer out, you know, where they crash through the door. Ash goes right over to the computer. Scout Bond stays by the door to watch for the wisps. I think with that hit, their what advantage they had was not great. It's what advantage they had is gone now. So it's a do or die. They're gonna be hit with the by the wisps again pretty quick if they can't get this out, and they need this. So rolling plus wits to face danger. A weak hit. Okay, all right. So, means they are successful, but also encounter a complication or setback. Obviously, the complication is going to be that this goes off. So that's going to go off. We do mark progress. We're going to mark progress here. So when the scene tension clock or the progress track is filled, or when events lead to the scene's conclusion, roll the challenge dice and compare your progress. So Ash gets the computer. It's pretty much just, you know, rip the cables out. He's just planning to pull the thing apart and connect directly to the hard drive. He's not worried about directly powering up this computer, because he's got ways to interface with it on the Stellar Hawk. So Scout Bond is just kind of, you know, looking between Ash and the hallway, and he's like, I don't mean to alarm you, but they're getting closer. And Ash is just like, all right, screw it, and just whatever connections he's got left, he just grabs the tower, just kind of rips them out. And if cords come with, they come with. If they don't, they don't. And they start to make their way out, and that is when they hear the deep rumble of the meltdown starting. I'm not gonna say it's an instant explosion, because, you know, they've got to have time, but let's see. They climb out of the Mutara. Yeah, I'm gonna say they get out, but let's see if they can get to the Stellar Hawk. And remember, this planet doesn't have any breathable, I don't think it has breathable air, right? I think we determined we need the, yeah, because we had to uncuff Scout Bond. Why aren't you changing? There we go. Sorry, my internet was being funky for a second, apparently. Yeah, there's no breathable atmosphere. So let's roll on our progress and see if we can get the Stellar Hawk out of range. And if we do, I'm just gonna say we the wisps are also taken care of. Strong hit. Hell yeah. So on a strong hit, you achieve your objective unconditionally. So yeah, they feel that it starts to rumble and shift beneath their feet as they're climbing out of the kind of dune that had formed from the open top of this ship that had been kind of rent open in the crash. They probably more fall and stumble down the outside of the dune back towards the Stellar Hawk than they do actually climb down it. And they go, they run into the Stellar Hawk. Ash just kind of shoves the computer at Scout Bond and is just like, just put that somewhere and strap in. And Scout Bond is kind of like, oh, I don't know where anything goes in this. She's looking around like, where do I stash this? Where do I stash this? Meanwhile, Ash slams himself into the cockpit, into the pilot's chair, and doesn't even bother to, like, you know, hook his harness up or anything like you're supposed to, like they teach you in pilot school. He's flipping switches and turning stuff on, and, you know, all pre-flight checklists are being disregarded as he hopes Scout Bond is found somewhere to hold on to, when he punches it and they take off. Just the Stellar Hawk shoots off. This is breaking just so many rules of, like, you know, flying in atmosphere and, you know, making sure everything's strapped down and warmed up and all that. It's just, none of it's done. As they just barely escape from the resulting explosion, which, you know, with a thin atmosphere would thankfully be pretty thin, so it would be pretty small explosion of, you know, what air is there, because, you know, without an atmosphere you don't get the big fancy explosions, and there probably isn't any oxygen left in the ship on top of it. So they the Stellar Hawk flies majestically away from what ends up being a fairly pitiful fireball, but probably would suck if they'd have been inside it, especially since Ash is already in really bad shape. So we can we'll clear those. We'll clear this. We got the we got the computer, so I'm going to say we mark progress on our vow here. And Ash is probably slumped, panting in his pilot seat. He's at Spirit 1, he's at Health 1, he's in a bad way. He's very, very beat up. He's got radiation burns from the Ember Wisps. He's, you know, had to run around in space with someone he's worried might stab him in the back and doesn't seem to care that they've been taken prisoner. It's been one of those awful, no good, very bad days for Ash Yeager. And Scout Bond probably looking beat up. I don't think they found a spot to, you know, to wedge themselves in. They probably hopefully secured the computer, but I highly doubt they had time to grab onto anything in any meaningful way before they got thrown around the back end of the ship. So a very somewhat roughed up and disheveled looking Scout Bond is gonna drag themselves into the cockpit, and as Ash unseals his helmet and just kind of throws it to the side and takes a breath of filtered but not as filtered air. I imagine the air in the suits gets kind of stale through you know, respirators and whatnot. The air in the ship would at least feel a little bit more fresh as it circulates. He just looks over and glares at Scout Bond, who gives him a cheeky smile. And he's just like, well, that was exciting. Shall we see what we found? And Ash just kind of glares at him as he reaches over and drags a med kit out from under the seat where it got stashed. And he's just like, I need to take care of this first. Starts shucking off his suit, revealing, you know, the burns on his arms from the Ember Wisps. So we're let's see. We're gonna treat it. You know what? I'm gonna do an Oracle roll real quick. Ask the Oracle. Yes, we're gonna ask the Oracle. I'm gonna say it's 50-50 shot whether or not Vanderbond, because we know they have some medical knowledge, presumably, if they're mixing their own medicine. So I think this comes down to whether or not they're willing to help Ash, which mechanically is going to be the same roll. Either way, we're going to be rolling with iron. But for story purposes, let's see if Vanderbond offers to help. No, they do not. Okay, so they're gonna shrug and leave Ash to it, and Ash is just not gonna care when they wander off back into the ship. So we are going to mend our own wounds, which you roll plus iron or whichever is lower. So we're gonna be rolling plus iron. Let's hope we don't have to burn our momentum. And we may end up sacrificing supply for this, but this is, you know, this is just for immediate things. We can take a rest to just naturally heal up, which is, but let's see, healing plus iron. Okay, strong hit, thank the gods. And a strong hit care is helpful. If you're wounded, clear the impact. Otherwise, take or give 3 health. So we are back up to 4 health. We're not going to worry about the spirit right now, which may come back to bite us, but we don't have time to hearten, I don't think. We've treated the immediacy of our wounds. Ash is still definitely sore and worn out and tired. But they're bandaged up. They've got some, probably, you know, I don't know if regular burn cream or whatever you would do for radiation burns. You know what? I have the power of the internet. Let me look it up real quick. Okay, so it's just like a regular burn. Stay out of the sun. Which I guess technically it's like a sunburn, right? Because that's a minor radiation burn, I would think. So yeah, it's like a really bad sunburn. So he puts, you know, some burn gel on them and bandages them up. So, you know, forearms are all wrapped up in gauze. As he wearily drags himself to the common area on his ship. As a fan of Firefly, I'm kind of picturing Serenity, at least in overall shape. The, you know, kitchen slash sitting slash dining, general purpose, all in one room, and sees Scout Bond just sort of, you know, peeking into cupboards and looking around, and there's a brief moment as they're over by like the cooking station where they find like the drawer with all the knives and whatnot, and there's a tense moment of, you know, the two of them making eye contact, and Scout Bond just kind of puts his hands up and steps away, and Ash points further into the ship towards we'll say they've got there's a little engineering workshop type room somewhere, not anything massive, but you know, something that'll let you repair electronic components and stuff if something goes wrong. So it was, we'll say Scout Bond wedged the computer up under the workbench to where it wouldn't move. Maybe like found some sort of bungee cord or ratchet strap to quickly loop it around and secure it to a table leg that's bolted to the floor or something like that. And Ash grabs it and undoes it, plonks it on the workbench, and pulls out a cable from like the wall-mounted computer, and then sets to work. You know, taking like the side panel off and gently now undoing the connections for whatever hard drive looking thing and plugging whatever cables into it that we need to. Might have to makeshift it up, but I think this is going to be a gather information to finish our vow here. So that is going to be a plus wits as Ash starts to put everything together. A weak hit, and there's nothing we can do about it with our momentum. So when you search for clues, conduct an investigation, or analyze evidence, roll plus wits. On a weak hit, the information provides new insight, but also complicates your quest. That's fine, because I feel like this would already have complicated stuff. So we get +1 momentum, which I think I can do right here. Yeah, awesome, cool. This Stargazer program is actually really nice. I think there's a mobile version, and I'm using a website or the web browser version. It's really nice for Starforged. It doesn't look like they have a version yet for the Sundials stuff, or I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But for Starforged, this is a really nice app. But so I'm going to mark progress because I'm going to say we do get the information. We Ash hooks everything up, turns his computer on, formats it. You might have to translate it through a software, or we'll say that Vanderbond knows what language it is. I wonder. Let me do a Google real quick, just so we can have some accuracy. So, to keep with the naming convention of this ship, we're gonna say that ship was a scout for, probably one of a few ships that launched out of Africa. Given how big it is, there was probably at least, I would imagine, 2 if you want to do north and south, maybe more. It doesn't. Specific numbers don't matter. So we're gonna say that ship was from an African group. What's the official language of Rwanda? I guess that's getting into too much detail. But we'll say he speaks, I think, Afrikaans is the one of the bigger language families down there. So we'll say that Vanderbond can speak the language, and also, which is, great because they can translate for us, but also conveniently means that we probably need to keep them around, which is something that Dash is not going to worry about right now. However, we did finish a vow, so that we need to fill your vow. So we roll against the progress, which is a strong hit, thankfully, with the 10. So on a strong hit, mark a reward on your quest legacy track. A dangerous one gives us 2 ticks, which is here. Quests 1, 2. Oh ho ho! So we have 2 experience now to spend, which we can use if we wanted to upgrade one of these assets that we already have, which I don't necessarily know how to mark that we have. I'll play around with that later. I'm not gonna do anything right now, but we can also save it when we have 3 and get a new asset, which I have a feeling we're gonna end up doing that, but I'll burn that bridge when I get to it. For now, what we do know is that I think this counts as overcoming an obstacle as well. We got some information on this, so we're gonna mark progress on our background vow as we're learning more about what the Scarlet Shards are up to. But as Vanderbond sits down and starts going through stuff, they'll highlight sections and do certain things to make notes that they can go back to and reference later. They're like, okay, good news and bad news. The good news is that there are coordinates to where it is. The bad news is that this precursor site that they found the technology at is in a different sector. So there's this series of books on I assume various websites. I found them on DriveThruRPG by called Ironsmith by this guy Eric Bright. He put out a bunch of basically expansion packs, pretty much for Ironsworn, expanded oracles, and in this case, they have flavor packs by various cultures. So I just want to see if, here we go, name oracles. Okay, that's one that I probably can pronounce correctly. If not, I apologize. But if the ship name we rolled for the Mutara has African origins. So I want to name this this sector that they discovered with an app, because they would have named it from something from their culture, so I think that makes sense. We're just gonna name this sector the Quada sector, or Quada. Not sure how to pronounce it specifically, but that is out of the African cultural expansion somebody did that inspired by African mythology, and he's got a couple. So if you are playing this game and want to add a little bit of culture, maybe your own, or just to add some diversity to your world, there's a whole bunch of different inspirational little booklets that this guy put out for Ironsmith. I just recommend getting all the Ironsmith stuff. I think most of it's pay what you want. So if you throw a couple bucks his way for his hard work, he'd probably appreciate that. I really like what it does. I can't really use all of the expanded oracles on here unless I want to roll for myself, which I'll probably do from time to time. Especially after we use a bunch of the oracles. But yeah, so the Quada sector is in the Outlands. So Vanderbond goes, it's a sector in the Outlands. Looks like they named it Quada in their language. There's some sort of precursor site. The details are, I can't tell if they were redacted or encrypted or just aren't there. I think the rough treatment may have damaged the hard drive a bit, but the coordinates are there. There's no designated pathway to it, but you should be able to find it, I'm sure, as a skilled pilot such as yourself. And Ash sighs and nods and goes, yeah, I can probably find it. But first we have to go back to Purgatory. We're gonna have to take you in, talk to this about command, get leave to go and whatnot. He just kind of starts mumbling to himself about everything, and Vanderbond is just like, is this all really necessary? I swear it won't be trouble. I'm more than happy to go explore this. In fact, I would go there myself, even without you dragging me along with you. And Ash just looks at him and goes, don't think because I let you out of your handcuffs means that you aren't still in custody. It was a necessity of the mission that you were helping me to achieve, and I do appreciate that. So continue to be cooperative, and I will continue to make note of that for whatever happens when all this is done. And I think what we're gonna do actually with this is there is a thing called Forge a Bond. Or no, we need to make a connection first. Forging a bond is the later one. Where is Vanderbond? Yes, Vanderbond, we'll see, may eventually become an actual bond. So when you search out a new relationship or give focus to an existing relationship, not an ally or a companion, roll plus heart. They're obviously going to be working together. Vanderbond is necessary for them to translate and get any more information out of this, and that may take time, and Ash isn't going to want to wait around. So I think almost dying together and exploring a derelict and fighting together, even if Vanderbond didn't do too much of the fighting, I think a connection has formed. Whether they completely go into a bond or not, if this is an enemies to friends type thing, we'll see where it goes. But let's see if we can forge a connection plus heart. On a weak hit. On a weak hit as above. But this connection comes with a complication or cost. So it makes sense. We're going to give them a connection, a strong hit, create a connection, give them a roll and a rank. Whenever your connection aids you on a move closely associated with their roll, add +1 and take 1 momentum on a hit. Okay. Obviously their connection is, or their, their complication is that they're in our custody. They aren't a friend. Ash and Evander bond is, maybe they're trying to recruit Ash or convert Ash, or at least get Ash to leave his role in the bounty hunter thing. We'll see what their goal is, but they definitely see that Ash is on the same line to solve for their initial goal of solve a mystery / pad at a rank. So this is the rank is, I believe, yeah. So this is like how hard it is going to be. I'm gonna make it dangerous. Yeah, we'll do dangerous. So we'll have to keep that in mind going forward. Let me just double check the rulebook real quick on connections. Make sure that's everything that I need to do. Connections are not allies, nor are they companions on your adventures. Instead, connections are characters who are independent of you, but whose life occasionally intersect with your own. Connections provide story hooks and quests and support you within the scope of their role. They usually represent positive relationships, but not always. A connection might instead be a rival or someone who wields power over you. If you are playing with allies, a connection can be shared. Okay, so let's see. On a hit, you establish a connection, give a role they represent, which I'll have to check. There's another page for that. And set the connection appropriate to their stature in the setting and the level of involvement. Okay. So let's hear roles. Okay. So we need to give them a role. So what I'm gonna say, their role is a precursor. I absolutely spelled that wrong. Precursor scholar. So precursor, they are a precursor scholar. That's the reason they were brought in initially to the Scarlet Shards. They are a researcher and student of precursor history, culture, technology. They just study all things of this mysterious precursor empire that spanned the whole forge. So they're going to be able to help us, hopefully, with the anything we encounter at precursor sites. What is a complication? I'm gonna say that, just to add a bit to the complication for the weak roll, aside from the obvious issues, is that they have a weak standing within the Scarlet Shards. This is it's very much why they were kind of on that outpost at Farpoint, not in the greatest position. I'm just gonna guess. But yeah, so we're gonna have to go back to Purgatory. We're gonna have to discuss with a higher up what's going on, but first we got to get back there. Set a course. So we're going through a known route. So we roll supply, which isn't great for us. +2. We're gonna roll plus other. When you follow a known route through perilous space across hazardous terrain or within a mysterious site, roll plus supply. So we're gonna roll plus supply just to make sure nothing else gets in the way as we set off. So I'm gonna say this is like an autopilot thing. Strong hit with a match. Okay, so strong hit with a match. So let's see here. First, on a strong hit, you reach your destination and the situation favors you. Okay, so I'm gonna say Vanderbond behaves. Ash keeps them for the most part confined to a room instead of, you know, keeping them like handcuffed and stuff. He probably just locks them for the most part in a room, or once in a while, you know, sometimes lets them out to you know, stretch their legs, sit around in the common area, have a meal, bathroom, stuff like that. So it's not, they've been cooperative and helpful, if not sassy and frustrated. But I think they're on best behavior now, now that they know we're going to bring them into, you know, to our command. So I'm gonna say that match gives us, I'm gonna say +1 spirit. You know what? I'll be generous. We'll say +2. It helps calm the nerves, seeing them on best behavior for Ash as he brings them back in. But now we need character. We need a we need to get a commanding officer, because we get back, we land, we dock, we kind of put our connection out there. We sent a message to command. Ash sent a message like, hey, I can't destroy this base. I have to go on this mission to get some critical information. Well, it's sensitive, and while I have the prisoner. So what I think, so it also, that hit with the match will say some other helpful stuff, is that they our people were able to destroy the base. So command's in a good mood, we'll say that initial disposition is cooperative. I don't think I'm going to save this, but just keep track while we're talking to them. So let's see here. Name Arnav Velez. Pronouns. I've got a custom oracle here. He, they. Yeah, it's just hey. We're gonna combine both of them. He, they. I'm getting a sense that that's I think I just assigned these are 2 she-hers, but we've got 3 out of 5, and at least one of these was assigned just because I kept using she for the person. I think it was it May? I think so. Anyway, but I've rolled at least 2 partially gender neutral pronouns, so I'm getting a sense that in this day and age, gender lines might be a bit more blurred, which, you know, it happens with extreme circumstances. Stuff becomes more and more acceptable. You know, the old lines get blurred when everyone's survival is at risk, and, you know, if a little war on Earth can blur social boundaries, I'm sure a little thing like having to flee the the entire solar system in search of a new home will force people to cooperate. Just not really relevant to the story, but just, you know, the dice are telling a bit of a story themselves. So we get this, Ash gets a meeting set up. Vanderbaan is put into custody, so let's see here. This Arnav Velez, what does he look like? So slight and scruffy. Okay, so this is not like a hard nose. This probably isn't like a hard nose by the book commander, and it's probably not. You know, this is like a, I don't know, military ranks, but this is a mid-level commander, like a lieutenant equivalent or a sergeant. You know, this is like a middle manager. This isn't the boss. This is just the direct commander, probably, of that's, you know, in charge of whatever section of this organization Ash is a part of. So they're in this meeting room. It's a pretty standard office, you know, metal table, white walls. Well, actually, no, with what we said how Purgatory is, it's probably, you know, a wood table, cushioned chair, not, you know, plush, but nice. This might be someone who has to meet with, you know, other members of the government within Purgatory and stuff like that. So Arnav pulls up his computer and types some things, and he says, I understand you had to abandon your initial assignment, but we were able to get that taken care of, so that wasn't a huge issue in the end. And you do report here that you've not only taken one of their officers into custody, but also discovered some potential information. Looking at it, you say that you witnessed this individual using the heart crystal remnants as a component for some sort of medical device or medicinal application. And Ash will recount the tale. He's like, yes, sir, I while scouting on Farpoint and preparing to sabotage their base, I witnessed Scout Bond perform some sort of chemical procedure with the heart crystal, with a bit of heart crystal as the main ingredient. He then applied it to himself through a respirator of some sort, and seemed to grow more comfortable. He is some sort of, I witnessed them. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I witnessed them apply the mixture through a respirator, some sort of medicinal procedure that seemed to alleviate a illness that they are suffering from. I've not yet asked the individual what the procedure was. I was more worried about gathering information. We have also, they led me to where they had found this technology, as it was very obviously of precursor origin once I got a closer look at it. And we found a ship named the Matura on a small planet that was deemed uninhabitable and non-useful for the colonization effort here on Aster. But the ship was a scout for another colony ship based on the naming conventions, and from what Scout Bond informs me of, it was for one of the originated from Africa somewhere back on Terra. I believe that it would be good if I were to follow up on the information we found there. I've provided a copy of the No, it wouldn't be a copy. He'd give the. I've provided the hard drive and the remnants of the computer to our technicians, and I've made a copy for myself. So if I have to follow anything, I can. I think I would request, sir, that you let me take Scout Bond with me on this investigation. They appear to know a great deal about precursors, and if I'm going to be investigating a precursor site, having an expert with me would be very helpful. They'll know what to look for. They can perhaps guide me in times of uncertainty, and they do appear to be a bit of a linguist. I may be able to make use of that if there's any sort of written record left behind. And I think that's going to be a compel, because I didn't think to look it up, but we did have a complication from a previous thing where we were potentially going to lose standing. I think that was from when we forsook our bond. But he is trying to implore this person to not only give up what they did here, he's not only trying to compel them to, you know, to let him go on this mission, but also kind of trying to justify and explain, you know, what the group is getting out of this. Like, this, he's like, to also expand on it, sir, this may lead to, this obviously has some sort of technology that we have not seen before. Whether or not we find more information on the medical practices, technology of precursor technology centered around the heart crystals may be indispensably useful. If this leads to any sort of substance, any sort of discovery of substance, it would be so much better than just continuing to, you know, hunt down, you know, disparate cells of a moderate organization. So let's see. Let's see how this goes. This is a bit of a trying to save face and trying to get permission, and that's when you try to persuade someone, division your approach. He's trying to charm, barter, encourage. He's trying to entice them, so it's going to be plus heart, which is good for us compared to our other options. A weak hit. So on a weak hit, as above, but their agreement comes with a demand or complication. So I get +1 momentum, but their agreement comes with a demand or complication. So I think the complication is this. He types a few things, looks around, looks through a couple of files on his terminal. And he goes, okay, we don't have any major operations going on, so I think we can assign you to this. We'll let you go check this out. But this is not, you are not a senior member of this organization. You are, to be quite frank, as green as the foliage out there. So I cannot entrust you with something as sensitive as a enemy officer. Minor as they may be, Scout Bond could provide us with valuable information. And Ash goes to argue, and he puts up a hand. He's like, I understand your concerns, but we do have some logs on the precursor language. Not many, but I will upload the files to your computer's terminal, or to your ship's terminal, and let that will help you determine things. But Scout Bond stays here. I will mark down your notes on their compliance and their willingness to help. They will be treated well. as long as they continue to comply and provide what information they have. But we will need time to do that. So for now, take a few days. Rest, resupply. I'll put in a notice to the quartermaster to restock you with what you had, with what we have. I know you said that you used supplies for and he starts rolling through the report that he had taken down. Medical supplies, ship repair supplies, additional food. We'll get you what we can, and you'll have to make do otherwise. Don't be too disheartened. Scout Bond is a valuable asset that we cannot let go without very good cause. But this scouting mission will, if it's acceptable, if it's successful, will bring you great prestige. I will make note in your file that any potential reprimand for disobeying your initial orders were justified, any reprimand is unnecessary. Your actions were justified, and they have come at a great benefit to our cause. Take this opportunity for what it is, and I wish you good luck. And he will dismiss Ash. We'll real quick, let's swear an iron vow. I'm going to say formidable. So we're going to discover and explore the precursor site. That's formidable. They both stand up, they shake hands, and Arnav will look Ash in the eyes and just go, "Good luck out there, soldier, and do us proud." And Ash will say, with absolutely no confidence in where to go, but he's gonna lie through his teeth as he swears his vow in his own way and says, "I will, sir. I'll do my best." And he's gonna walk away with a lot on his mind, thinking about files that he saw of the Matara's encounter and the fact that his best asset is gonna be locked away in a cell, as opposed to letting him make use of that resource. He's got a lot to do to get ready for this mission, and it's not gonna be a great start. So I think we're gonna come back to that next time. Ash is gonna have to resupply and maybe take a few days to get his head on straight. But if you enjoyed this episode, please like and comment, subscribe if you want to see more. Trying to post new episodes every other week or so. So I hope to see you guys in the next one, and have a lovely day.